the earthquake earlier this year, you know, they've been keen to actually say, look, you know, the reason why Haiti is part is because, you know, the French exacted reparations on them of, I can't remember how many millions of francs, but it took them 100 years to pay it off. And that's why it's part, you know, it was 40%, I think it was 50% of GDP.
Yeah. So
every, say, I don't know, franc that they, you know, that the Haitians had, they had to give half of it to France.
And you know what's interesting, Brother Richard, that even though I understand the history of Haiti, you know, through Dessalines
and Toussaint and Macandal
and all that, you know. But I don't know many, in fact I don't hardly know any Haitian people here in the UK.
Well, there are very few.
I don't know no personally.
No, there are about 100.
There are about 100?
Roughly about 100 people here. But one of these Haitians actually sent me some photographs of Haiti. An amazing place, a beautiful place. So I mean, some of the architecture is colonial, so I don't want people to say, oh well, it's, you know, very Eurocentric, but you know, this isn't, you know, some type of shanty town. And you know, it is a tourist destination. So much so that I think it was in the Guardian newspaper a couple of days after the earthquake, a cruise ship docked on the north of the island, north of the, you know, the section of the island of Hispaniola, the Haitian bit. And you saw these guys sunbathing.
What is it?
I'm serious, sunbathing. It's been a tourist destination for years, but the fact is, how many of us think of going there? We don't.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know anybody talk about
no, you want to see some of the hotels. I mean, I'm not into tourism. I don't think it's positive for the Caribbean. I don't think it's positive for any country where African people live, because, you know, truth, we don't really seem to take advantage of it. A lot of the time the hotels are not owned by us. You know, the work that, if we do work in hotels, we end up doing menial work, and it seems as if it's just smacks of old-fashioned colonialism where we're serving our, you know, our Caucasian masters.
Right.
So I don't think that, you know, tourism itself is great, and I don't think any Caribbean country, any country really where black people live, should rely on it as a source of income, because, you know, it's too dependent on external forces. So for instance, if there's an economic downturn, you know, people say, oh well, I ain't going on holiday again. What do you do?
Yeah, we see your point.
What do you do?
We see your point.
And you know, the fact is, you know, instead of the Caribbean trading with one another, from a Caribbean perspective, you know, in terms of, you know, you have the bauxite and we have oil, you know, let's deal with that. You end up fighting over the same tourists and start saying, well, we got better beaches than you. No, it's a bit silly. But just going back to that point about, you know, what this, you know, Haitian woman showed me, what was a place that was beautiful, was a tourist destination, and many people from North America, in particular Canada and the USA, sort of saw it as almost their sort of secret garden, their hideaway place. So they would, you know, go there and, you know, holiday year in, year out. Didn't want to, you know, it was like a secret that they wanted to keep from people. So they were happy to propagate this notion that, you know, Haiti was, you know, some sort of, you know, wild place where, you know, everybody was sort of, you know, into sort of pagan or voodoo worship, you know, run by henchmen and criminals. No, I'm not saying that the place was perfect, but the fact is, you know, many of us should have gone there, at least for holiday. Because from what I saw, you know, the place looked good. The place looked as developed as Jamaica as any Caribbean country. But such is the history. You know, we've been encouraged to actually ignore Haiti and not even look at the history. And it's deliberate, because if we do look at the history, all that can do is serve to inspire us. All it can do is serve to inspire us. But, you know, rather than that, all we get told of is it's a failed state. You know, they say it's a porous state in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, how do they know that? And what indices are they using to determine that? But that's what they're saying. They do it deliberately so that, you know, we actually ignore it. You know, so, you know, Jamaican would say, well, okay, we're bad, but let me tell you something. You know, we're not as bad as Haiti. What kind of foolishness is that? Yeah, they don't know the history of the place.
That's slave mentality.
Slave mentality, man.
Well, let me bring back to the whole thing about the books then.
Yeah. So going back to the book, so I just wanted to sort of talk about, you know, what really did happen, bring into focus the role the Africans played in freeing themselves. And I said resistance began in Africa. So, you know, this notion of, you know, African people being led like this, like, you know, they didn't, you know, they simply acquiesced into kind of enslavement. No, that didn't happen. They resisted. They constantly resisted. It was both passive and active resistance. Resistance continued on so-called slave ships, and then obviously it kind of culminated when they arrived in the so-called New World, where they actually, fought, used the holy blood, to marry an run away, and they got the Maroons obviously, but they resisted. And they put their lives on the line. So if you look at any type of European, so-called European abolitionist, they were, some of them may have been threatened, but they never had to put their lives on the line for their freedom. The minute an African was said to his so-called slave master, "I'm not doing this," that was it. He would be killed, because that system was built on terror and violence. And when people look at Jamaica now and say Jamaica is a violent place, or the Caribbean is quite violent, well, it's always been violent. If a place is birthed in violence, it's hard for it not to have it in its DNA.
It's true. Same thing I say about America.
It's the same with America.
Same thing I say about America.
You think of Jamaica, and you think of, it began with genocide. The Spanish came and wiped out the Arawaks.
Yeah,
that's genocide.
Right. That's right.
So much so that when the British came, there wasn't even one Arawak there for them to see. Only artifacts and other things that sort of showed examples of the fact that a previous civilization had lived there. Now, if you have that within your DNA, how then can you be a sort of a peaceful or a tranquil or a sort of a society that's at ease with itself? If you
see your point.
You implement a system like slavery, which was, as I said, built on violence and terror, coercion. How can that be peaceful?
Right.
So the whole region is birthed in violence.
Let me answer a question, right? And this question I've asked in my mind, and hear it come all the time, right? You're talking about slavery, and one of the questions it's been asked time and time again: